previous video, those horrible gigantic boxes that were coming up over everything was my PlayStation in the living room telling me that I couldn't verify my license. I honestly don't know what's wrong with it. Because I was logged into my PSN. Actually, I think I might have an idea of what's wrong with it. It's like, okay, so most of the time when I'm playing, I am playing either here in my room or at my apartment. Those are my two main units. And that's probably got to do with licensing for some whatever through PlayStation's just how it works. So, although I did, in the process of figuring that out, did find a really interesting, like, there's text-to-speech now, which is really cool. I honestly would rather just see, the chat up here, maybe-ish, because I'd like to, review if somebody actually, is watching, and I haven't played with it. Maybe next time. Maybe next time I'll just play with those settings and see how it works, and we'll do it that way. Anyway, last time I was in the middle of saying something. I got a call from my roommate. No emergency. She just needed to be picked up. Housemate, I should say, not roommate. She of course has her own room. Uh, but we ended up just going out and getting food, and so I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stream today before she might need to call me because it's raining out to pick her up from work. But so what I was in the middle of saying at the time was that Squall has there's some interesting math. So let's start with that draw point that I found. Uh, that when I got 14 and I said that is a good haul, that is because draw points give up no. Yeah, no, I was just being hopeful. Now, battles have similar math-ish, but each spell has a resistance to being drawn. Most spells aren't that high, it's not that difficult, and there's just magic stats and all of those other kinds of things that are factors. So I ended up how it works in battle is that if it would be more than 9 spells that you would get draw from an enemy very often, it is possible but not likely. I don't think you can actually fail to draw from a draw point. There are some draw points that will only give you like one at a time for like super high level spells like Holy and stuff, but I don't think I've ever actually failed to draw from a draw point. So what I did was, yesterday, I went ahead and I'm, of course, on Wi-Fi. That was like the best streaming experience I had in the living room, to be brutally honest, because that actually is the only device in the house that's directly wired into the router. But, okay. Collect my thoughts. So, I went back and, recovered a few things. I went and just kind of scummed a little bit, and called it a day when I drew 12 as soon as from that draw point. I got 7 blizzards from that draw point in the battle area here, and which I think is the same amount that I got before. I'm pretty sure it's 7. I should probably junction some of that. So another thing is that this round I junctioned both of the GFs. Now, I actually found that Quetzalcoatl actually does have a higher wit swell than Shiva does. Obviously, I used Shiva once, she leveled up. And I got some baby girl here. Okay, so I guess my cat is gonna chill with me here. Let's see. So I got 12 Asunas, 7 Blizzards, I drew 16 Sleeps, and 9 Silences, and wow, magic. That makes sense. Whew. Okay. We're gonna go with the Sunos for now here. Just because, well, you know what? We're just gonna junction some sleep on here and see what we get. I'm going to do some early grinding, methinks. And so here's some stuff on Squall's stats for you. You notice that his hit percent is 255%. Obviously, that's the maximum allowed by the game. I just realized that I probably was really quiet because my microphone fell off. I'm using the default earbud, so, and I didn't have it clipped, so I'm sorry of any quietness from that. Anyway, Squall has maximum accuracy as it stands. Now, what I was in the middle of saying when I cut off my last video was that Squall actually has a unique ability to automatically critical. Now, this happened, and the reason that I was biffing it was because I was pressing R2, because R2 to me means trigger. It's actually R1. So we'll just demonstrate here a little bit. Now, if I just let Squall attack, we see he doesn't do a whole lot here. Now, if we attack again, and I do this right, you see that he gets an automatic critical. Now, his automatic criticals, because they're automatic, we're gonna just sleep here. Because they're automatic, they are only 150%. Now, everybody else's criticals are 200% because they're random. Just silence. Oh, come on. Absolutely. We're just going to continue drawing a little bit while I talk. So anyway. Wow, that really is just sucking the RNG, isn't it? Okay. Okay. So anyway. There we go. Train of thought derailed. So, casting instead of casting from stock, if you do a draw cast, that actually does reduce effect. You can do it, but it's better to actually just save a slot and draw into stock and then cast afterwards. Because it's gonna be... I looked up the math on Final Fantasy Wiki, and I don't honestly remember what it was. But, anyway, draw casting... I go as I say. Just, if you've got a status spell, it doesn't last as long. If you have an attack spell, it's weaker. That should be enough for this battle. I biffed. Okay. So... there we go. And, you know what, we'll do GF here, we'll do Quetzalcoatl. So a little about summoning in here, if it wasn't readily apparent, summons do have their own HP. They serve as your shield when you are actively summoning, which does offer you some protection while they charge up to go kick some butt. Now, this is the first time I've actually seen this in this game. Oh wow. It's beautiful. So Quetzalcoatl is going to level up here. And apparently so is Squall. So, GF level does unlock things. It unlocks more HP, first and foremost. There are items that you can use to heal your GFs. They're healed by resting. I think they're healed by just walking around a little bit. Walking is a super important mechanic in this game, surprisingly enough. I'm just going to summon Shiva here to show everybody that. In case I haven't already shown Shiva. This honestly remains one of my favorite Shiva summon animations. So, quick trivia thing, between all of the PlayStation 1 summon sequences, all of them that are shared take the exact same amount of time. Which I found, of course, using Final Fantasy Wiki as a resource, and just, it's, hey, Shiva learned boost. Okay, so let's see what we can give Shiva while I talk here. So, anyway, how did she get to be level 4? Okay, so, to collect some thoughts, Strength Junction, I think. That'll last a while, I guess. Train of thought derailed. Let's see here. You're still on card for the next while here. Oh, summon animations. I actually went and, looked at all of the videos side by side and found that, in comparison, of course, allowing for the, intro and outro. Okay, we are just going to do an attack here. Shoot. I biffed and wasted my back attack. It's been too long. No, baby girl, that chord is not a string to play with. Gonna see how much I can actually get here. Oh, hey, okay. So we're just gonna summon Puddle again, get some of this going. Okay, so GF mechanics. Okay. GFs have their own levels, they will level up, they serve as your shield, they can take some punishment for you while you know, sit and summon and wait for them to take everything's bust. That dark effect there, where he just starts glowing from the bottom up, I don't think this was in any version that I'm familiar with, and I'm loving it. Anyway. So, the boost ability allows you to boost GFs. If you do use boost in battle, if you don't use boost or you don't have boost, you will just do it at default 100%. Boost actually starts you off at 75%, and you're responsible for mashing a button to get it higher just to do bonus damage. So... we're gonna sleep. So, anyway, GF abilities, there are other things that they can learn. that are useful in battles that you can just go ahead and use, those kinds of things. GFs will actually, every time you summon a GF, it actually puts X number of points into your compatibility with them. So GFs will level up a certain, well, not level up, but gain a certain number of points towards compatibility for things that you cast, like normal magic. So like wind and lightning spells will improve compatibility with, you know, certain GFs, those things like lightning, of course, the bolt line will do Puddle, ice will be Shiva, those kinds of things. It's not as much as actually summoning them. Now, when you summon a GF, it'll put like 10 points into your compatibility with them. It is very easy to build compatibility with a GF that way, just because if I go into the menu here, we can see this is sitting at like 630, this is sitting at like 605. So summoning a GF will increase the compatibility with that GF. It will drastically decrease the compatibility with some opposing GF or another. And it will slightly decrease the compatibility with other GFs. So between these two, it's not really a big deal. Obviously, I've done a couple of summons with Quetzalcoatl, you can see that, and you can see that. It's kind of balancing itself out between the two of them for right now. So obviously she's healed up. So I mean, again, it's one of those things where now when I get Ifrit, because of any compatibility that I've built with Shiva, by summoning her, that is going to completely tank Ifrit. Now, Ifrit, I know for a fact, is most compatible with Zell anyway, and I always give Zell Ifrit, so it's not and we'll summon, so it's really just, summoning in this game is really just kind of a standard action. Even more so than it was in Final Fantasy VII, really. I mean, if you're not summoning in every battle, you're not using the best tools at your disposal, is what it boils down to. You know, as your GFs level up, you unlock abilities, and, you know, I mean, there's no reason not to summon. Like, especially as you continue forward and you start getting more summons, there just really is just no reason not to summon. I mean, it actually takes it away from you in the final battle, spoiler alert, but your ability to summon in the final battle is drastically reduced. Okay, so we get Renzuoken here. Okay. Fudge! Oh, that sucks. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm gonna summon and get out of here. Whew. That blew. I'm sorry. So, Renzuoken was one of those things that I think I just kind of psyched myself out of it a little bit. Renzuoken is just a timing thing, and I think I was just kind of half paying attention because of trying to talk and trying to do the music and just... I swear, I'm not that bad at this game. Or if I am, it's just because I haven't played it in ever, because usually timing and rhythmic stuff like that is not a problem for me. Anyway, so we saw that that was Squall's Limit Break. Obviously, I just biffed the heck out of it, and I may end up changing the controls just to put it on R2 to make my own life easier. Um, woohoo! Let's get out of there. Okay. Let me go and rest up. And so what Renzoken is it's, again, a timing arithmetic-based kind of deal. If you nail it, which I am very used to just nailing it, you can basically get, depending on a Squall's weapon, you can get a different ending finisher move. And that also depends on the mechanics of just the limit break system in this game. So limit breaks in this game are based on basically, it's almost like Final Fantasy VI's desperation attacks. If you're low on HP, and there are other factors involved in it as well, including the spell aura and just a little bit of random chance, those kinds of things. But anyway, based on your, I forget if it's actually called desperation level or what, but based on that, you will get different abilities in people's various, just different limit breaks. So, Squall's Renzoken is just, you get a finisher move if you nail all of the hits. Obviously, I only got 2 of them. Different enemies have a different number of hits. Some of them do have fixed hits to them. Others, there's a little variation. If we actually look at, I think it's in the status screen here, since we only have the revolver, Squall's ability is Rough Divide, which is, it's sufficient. Oh. Renzokuken. Wow! I don't know if I just... I probably just have been mispronouncing that my entire life. I apologize. So Renzokuken, that is, again, you can set it to auto mode. I'm not gonna do that. You really just need to not suck that bad. But while we're in here, I'm just gonna go into the config. Let's see here. They don't have a key to find? A2B is on wait. Why? Oh my gosh. So I have no option to change that. Oh, that's gonna get interesting. Anyway. Let's see here. I'm going to say, since I literally just saved... Okay. So a few things. Obviously, Squall is really heavy on the R1 button. For his trigger. I really wish it were the R2 button, because that's what a trigger actually is. That's why it's called that. That's why it's shaped that way. But that's not what they did for the PS1, so whatever. And he's kind of the only one who's like that. Everybody has their own individual battle mechanics. In comparison to other games, there is no row. A lot of Final Fantasy games, of course, have the front and back row. That isn't present here. Money you get every X number of steps. Obviously, we're fixed at 5,000 here, just as a starting value. We haven't gotten paid because we aren't technically a seed yet. Couple of things in status. We have our lovely icons, and I just want to talk about the icons here because they were very faithful with them. Obviously, things are, done a little more for HD at this point. But that thing in the top left there is fire. It's like a candle flame. I really like this game in the way they did things because it kind kind of didn't go along with convention. You have below fire is your ice. A lot of times that's a snowflake or something. For this, it's just kind of this ice crystal with these little, almost like gem holders around it. Obviously, your lightning is below that. That's a pretty standard one. Below that is earth. It's a rock. I love how small scale these things are. Next column up is poison, wind, water, and holy. So, pretty much standard elements for the series. Gravity is not returning from Final Fantasy VII in here. The demi-spell does exist, it just doesn't have its own element. You've got your status defense stuff where going down, just starting at the shorter column, you've got KO, or, that's death. It's a little coffin. Poison is interesting to me because they just recycled and palette swapped the icon. Then, of course, they have freeze, which is kind of like the, or not freeze, but petrify, I should say. Kind of almost like the ice icon, but it's also kind of like the earth icon. Freeze is not in this game. I apologize. Then you've got blind, silence, berserk, which is just these sharp, pointy teeth. Zombie at the next column at the top, sleep, slow, stop, curse, confusion, and I forget what that last one is. Luckily, we have the tutorial. So, some of them are a little, let's see here, icon explanation, of course. So, I'm surprised they actually call it thunder in here. Usually Final Fantasy calls the element lightning. Drain. That does not look at all like drain to me. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. KO is actually death in this game? Okay. It's kind of funny because, of course, not every game has the same terminology, so, but most of it is pretty self-explanatory. I found this kind of interesting because all of these stat things are literally their own icons. They don't actually use the same font or text for the stats just to keep them all the same width. And then, of course, your ability stuff. Anyway. So, I think it says something about a character just saying this. I know something that isn't just a small rock that doesn't even have a particular crack or anything to it. And yet you've got the wind icon as a tornado, so I mean, it's not like it's all necessarily small things, but then, like, fire is a candle flame, you know? That's kind of a detail-oriented kind of thing, and assuming that, like, the main character is the one who decides what things look like, that can say a lot about them. Obviously, Squall being who he is, you know, is just kind of detail-oriented like that, I think. Just as kind of a random thought to think about. I mean, I think about that because I do my own game development, and for me, I really do that kind of thing. So, anyway, I don't think that I'm going to be able to perform particularly well at this point, because at this point in the night, it's almost 7 o'clock. I have not eaten since lunch, and my lunch was not a particularly big one. And I've been up since 5 o'clock in the morning, which is kind of why I haven't been streaming, because there's just so much to do in so little time with the special shift that I'm on. I just can't get the most out of my day, and I've got a ton of junk that I need to accomplish tomorrow. But the entire waking up at 5 o'clock thing does not work for me, just saying. And so I can solve exactly one of those two issues, the entire having been awake since 5 o'clock and being kind of tired, and also being, like, getting pretty hungry at this point. So I'm gonna go solve the hungry thing, and depending on how the tired thing works out, I may do another session here. So thank you anyone who watches this, and I will try to collect my thoughts a little better than randomly going and jumping around and that kind of stuff like I was this time. If not, have a good night. I will try to continue streaming this a little bit tomorrow.